Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. And good evening, everybody. I'm Susan Anderson. I'm the founder and executive director of the Answer Scholarship. And I'd like to say welcome and thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're delighted to have this opportunity to personally thank you for your commitment to Answer's mission. And we also wanted to extend our true appreciation for you sharing of your time, your talents, and your treasures to support the mothers that we serve. I'd also like to take just a moment to thank Danielle Close, who is our communications associate, and would like to thank her for managing all the work that goes in behind the scenes to make a virtual event like tonight happen. And so this evening, she is our producer, and we just really thank you for your help tonight, Danielle. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to some of our alumni who are joining us this evening. We can't see you, but you can see us, and we really hope next year we'll be able to have this event in person. So welcome everybody. I'd like to take just a moment also to give you just a quick overview of tonight's program. We're going to have an update from new board chair Susan Harper, who will give you an update on what's happening with Answer. You'll have an opportunity to hear from two recent graduates, Erica Flowers and Janet Mezlinkowski. And we will also have a few remarks from current board member and a current donor. And at the end, you'll have an opportunity for questions, Q&A, questions and answers. And if you will please take a moment to send your questions through the chat box, and then make sure you have it to all participants as well. And Danielle will be facilitating the Q&A at the end. So now I would like to introduce to you board chair Susan Harper. She became board chair on January 1st this year. I stepped down for many years of being the board chair, and now we have the other Susan, Susan Harper, or Susan H, as she's known as around Answer. And she's going to share some highlights about Answer and where we're headed this year and in the future. Susan has served on the Answer board for several years. We found Susan through the North Mecklenburg Women's Club, and she has served on every committee in this organization except for finance, I think. But she's done it all. She also wrote our HR manuals and our succession plan, and she's done it all. We couldn't do without you. Susan holds a master's degree in public health from Tulane University. And she has earned her PhD in organizational psychology from the University of Chicago. So Susan?
Great. And Danielle, do you want to go ahead and just bring it to the first slide, and I'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. It feels unusual to speak to you when I can't see you, and especially miss being in person because that was so much fun. And Russell, if you're on the line, I assume that you might be. Thank you for hosting this event so many years now. We kind of missed being with you this year, but hopefully we'll be back on downtown at Alston and Byrd next year. So it's been a great experience for me. Most of you, I'm sure, have heard of me because I have been on just about every committee that exists at Answer. I've been with Answer since 2014, and I just think it's a wonderful organization. We have wonderful volunteers, wonderful donors. And Susan, of course, has been just a delight to work with. And I'm very, very thankful and pleased that she invited me to be the chairman of the board this year. So I am learning as I go. Just started the 1st of January, but this is my first time kind of talking about our direction. And I hope that at the end of today, you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions and give us some feedback about where you think the Answer ought to go in the future. So I'm very pleased to be here and welcome you. So just to talk about some highlights from this year, as you may know, we had 19 scholars this year, of which 13 are going to be graduating. So that's a huge number. So I'll just put in a word to please, if you know anyone who is looking for a scholarship, the applications are online now. So you can go to answerscholarship.org. We'd love to have lots and lots of applicants because we have money to give away. And we just think it's such a worthwhile endeavor. And we certainly hope that we can add to each year and grow the number of scholars that we're able to serve. So hopefully next year we'd even get to 25 scholars. We awarded $70,000. As you know, some of this money comes from our foundation monies and some comes from Answer Inc. So that was what we're able to award this year for our 19 scholars. 220,000 is our budget from this year. And I want to also, I know we have Luann on the call, just recognize her. I know she's going to talk about a little bit, but being in a virtual environment this year has had its own challenges. And I think everybody has really stepped up to the plate. And Luann Driscoll, who ran our tailgate, we were just thought it was phenomenal that we raised over $47,000 this year from a virtual fundraiser. So that's just, we were not expecting that. We're very pleasantly surprised, but now we have to really build on that for next year, right? So, but that's a little bit about this year. Looking forward, if you want to change the slide, Danielle. What we've done too in the last year going into this year, I think we've really focused on what I call evidence-based decisions. So when the board first formed, we really just kind of sat down as a board and thought through how we were going to organize our programs and what we were going to do for scholars. So it was really more discussion-based, I would say, but in the last, I would say 2 years, we really strive to make sure that what we're changing and how we're growing is very much a thoughtful process. So we instituted a scholar survey as well as a mentor survey, asking scholars and mentors about the relationship, about our programs, what worked, what didn't work, and really tried to get a handle on what in the future do we need to be doing that we're not doing now, or what do we need to continue to build on, because we've got so many great programs already in place. And so that's been, we do that both in terms of an online survey and focus group. So we'll continue to do that this year. We've started about 3 years ago an alumni survey, but that has since grown, and we've gotten more and more alums involved. I think this year we had a 36% response rate, which is almost a 40%. So much better from year to year. You know how hard it is to get people to respond, but that's very critical because that really tells us about our success. How are we doing, not only in terms of having people graduate, but are they finding the career of their choice? Are they making more money than they thought was possible before? Are they happy in their jobs and all that kind of thing? So that's important for us to know from a programming standpoint where we need to be. This is the first year, I think, hopefully most of you took part in this who are donors, the donor survey. We wanted to hear from you. You know, what's important to you? How do you think, are we good stewards of your money? Are we investing in the right kinds of programs? How do we need to grow? And so we asked some of your preferences in terms of being a donor, and we will continue to do that. And then we also, in the last 2 years, have started doing a board development survey. On the board, obviously, the board changes from year to year a little bit. We usually, a couple people leave, a couple people come on board. We always want to know, are we, again, thinking about being thoughtful about our decisions? Are people participating in the board actively? Are they ambassadors to answer? So all of these surveys, sounds like a lot of surveys, and it is, but it really is for the purpose of helping the board and answer to do the right things, the things that are really going to help our scholars to be more successful. Another big change we made this year, and I attribute a lot of this to Martha Honeycutt, our program director, but she's just done a phenomenal job of getting community partnerships. So some of the partnerships are resources for our scholars where we might, for example, crisis assistance if someone needs counseling or assistance with housing and so forth. They're able to step in and help our scholars. So we're not expecting, especially as mentors, to know everything or know all the resources, but Martha's done a great job. I think it's about 25 or so community partnerships we have now. Dress for Success, for example, they provide some workshops, and they'll work one-on-one with scholars for helping them get ready and professionally dressed for their interviews and so forth. So all of these community partnerships are helping us help our scholars in ways that we couldn't do that before. And then one thing Susan has emphasized, and will certainly continue to do this, is always be thinking about and learning about best practices. We are a business, it's a nonprofit business, but we are a business. And so we want to do things that are in the best interest of that business. So we had made some changes in our leadership structure. As Susan said, I'm the chairman of the board this year, but we've also added, we have a new development director who's bringing a lot of expertise to us. We've made some changes in terms of our committee structures to have a more focused approach in some areas, especially in the Mentors for Mom area. So we've done a lot to really make it a very robust organization. The other thing we've instituted are board individual development plans. So board members have some accountability. We know from year to year, if I've made a commitment for a certain level of fundraising or gaining volunteers or talking in the community, we're having the board really think about beforehand and set some goals, and then looking at those goals at year end to see where we are and how we need to adjust. This year, we also completed a financial review. As Susan said, I've never been on the finance committee, but so that's why we get some experts in every year to make sure that we are doing the right things, we're reporting correctly, doing our taxes correctly, and so forth. And so we did that this year. And also new this year was we put out a diversity statement. Hopefully it's not just a statement, it's a way of being and a way of thinking. I've always felt, and I know a number of you have commented, that we have really taken to task, just really doing a good job of being very inclusive, and we certainly want to continue that. But we also want to, to be known in our community as really respecting diversity in all its forms. So we've made an effort to do that. You want to change the slide, Danielle? Thank you. So let's talk about some goals for next year. We've said this a couple of years, but we are still working toward our 25 scholars. We think that's about the number of scholars that we could reasonably really manage in the size that we are today with the people that we have in place today. We have 4 part-time staff members now. We have about 62 volunteers. We really couldn't get much bigger than 25, but we hope we can get to 25, which would require us to continue to raise the level of our funds. So this year we are hoping to gain $225,000. That would enable us to do what we want to do. Certainly long-term, we're hoping to get closer to about $500,000 a year. Again, that will enable us to do more, to perhaps raise the amounts that we're able to give, maybe to do some different types of programs and so forth. We're not there yet, but we at least have that as a long-term goal. And then we also want to really think about a strategic plan for this year. We have a very strong mission, and people can, I think, talk about the mission. And I've heard even a number of you as donors talk about what the mission means to you, but we've not really had a vision of where we want Answer to go long-term. And we just think we're at a point in our growth that it's time to do that. So that's one of our goals for this year. Danielle? Okay. So here are the 4 areas I would say of focus for the board this year. Development and fundraising. Of course, it's always important, but now we have great faith, and Judy North is our new development director. She brings a lot of expertise. I've already learned so much that I never knew before about fundraising and fundraising policies and how you organize things. So I think she's going to be great in helping us take us to that next level of fundraising, both in terms of individual donors, but also, corporate sponsorships and grants and kind of creating a development plan for the organization. CRM integration, we have, just like many businesses, we have different systems that do different things. We need them all to work together. So we're looking at our donor and mailing programs and that kind of thing. We're just hoping to have one system that will help us do everything. Legacy Promise is something I've had a personal interest in. That's I call it a deferred giving program. I'm a legacy donor. I plan to leave Answer in my will, or have left it in my will. We have several people who have done that already, but hopefully this year we're going to encourage those of you who are donors to think about doing that, or letting us know if you already are one of our Legacy Promise donors. because we'd like to do more in terms of appreciation for that group as well. Maybe doing some special events, inviting you to have more discussions about the direction of Answer, because that really is setting Answer up for more of long-term sustainability. I know Susan will be around a long time, but she does say she wants to semi-retire in some time. So this is kind of helping to assure that, 30, 40, 50 years from now, Answer will still be able to do what it's doing today, and continue to, to be this, have Susan's spirit, but Susan may herself not be here. And then, as I mentioned, we are going to conduct as a board, and we will involve some of you as donors, as stakeholders in a strategic planning process. We're looking at a few consultants right now who are willing to help and come and facilitate that process. But again, we have a great mission. I think we've done a great job so far, and certainly Susan starting us from nothing in 2006 with just herself. I think it's just phenomenal what she's done. But again, we're just trying to plan for the future, and know, what is our long-term vision, and how are we going to get there. So that's it. So as on a final note, if you want to change the slide, Danielle, I just want to say, again, as donors, I mean, we couldn't do it without you. So you're just so important. I've enjoyed getting to know a number of you as I've started to do some interviews with some of you from time to time throughout the years, but also as I've stepped up into the board position, to just understand what's important to you, what we can do differently or better, what you'd like to see for Answer. And I know all of you think it's just a wonderful organization, as I do. So I appreciate you being here today. And hopefully next year I will get to meet you all in person.
Yep. Thank you, Susan. And Answer is in great hands with you. She's already stepped up the game for the board members, and being board chair, she's already putting some new plans in place. So I'm really excited to see where the board goes. I just can't thank you enough for all your time and that you've donated to this organization. It's been invaluable. So we couldn't, we wouldn't be where we are today without Susan H. So thank you so much.
Or our donors.
Yeah, well, and our donors too. I mean, yeah, and it takes everybody. So just thank you for all the behind the scenes work that you do, and it's been wonderful. You've made us look good with all the reference material that you've written for us. So thank you. Anyway, next we're moving on to our Scholar Spotlight, and I would love to introduce to you Erica Flowers. Erica is a recent graduate of Queen's University. She graduated this past December, earning her BSN degree from Queen's University. And she's coming to us tonight to share a little bit about her journey, and her time is very tight because she is studying for her credentials to become an official nurse. She'll tell you all about that in a minute. Erica is a proud mother of 3 children, and she recently got a new job after she graduated with Atrium Health at Northeast, and she's working in the neuroscience, inpatient stroke, and epilepsy area. So Erica, we are thrilled to have you tonight. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to share a few minutes of your journey.
Thank you so much for having me. First and foremost, I want to say that I'm very proud to be a part of the Answer Scholarship. Having a mentor, being able to talk with her, and being able to, just kind of express myself and let her know what I'm going through in my journey. I mean, I really appreciate it. Currently, I am a single parent of 3. I became a single parent at a very young age. My children's father, he passed away when I was 22 years old. And throughout my journey, I've tried and I've stopped and started school, and I don't know, I just kind of kept that motivation, being that my kids were looking at me, to just keep going. I joined the Answer Scholarship last year whenever I was attending Queen's University. And I'm just grateful for everything. The workshops, although everything is online because of COVID, the workshops, building friends and relationships, and having conversation were great. I graduated December 10th, 2020. with my bachelor's in science, and that's about it. Like, I'm studying for my boards. I take them next week, and that's about it. I'm just so grateful. Just praying.
Well, Erica, thank you so much, and have been a delight to be in the program. We wish we had you many more years, but a year was good, and you've been a great ambassador for us. You've spoken on several occasions, and we just wish you the best. And getting 100 on your board, then you're going to do great. And I know you've got a lot to do this evening, but thanks again for joining us and sharing a little bit about your journey. You have beautiful children. I see them.
Thank you. Thank you.
And how old are your kids?
My baby girl, she's 10. My oldest is 20, and my son is 18. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, good for you. We're proud of you. Thank you so much, Erica.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And now I would like to introduce you to another recent graduate, Janet Mezlinkowski. Some of you may remember Janet when she spoke at our first donor appreciation event in November of 2018. Janet is a May graduate of Montreat College with her BS in psychology and human services. And Janet is the proud mother of 4 boys. I think most of them are teenagers and a little beyond now, so she's been busy. Janet is currently a teacher's assistant intern in a special education classroom in the Clover School District. And Janet is now pursuing her graduate degree in special education from Winthrop University. She will be teaching her own class next fall, and she will graduate with her master's degree in May of 2022. Janet, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Susan. And I have to say is you highlighted me so perfectly, and I never would have thought before I went back to college that I would ever have somebody describe me with the ways that you described me. And it goes back to the first time that I actually went and represented Answer, my first thing. I had no meaning of what it was to feel appreciation for yourself. And Answer is partially responsible for that because of the way that my mentor and all of the different meetings that I went to helped me to learn who I am and who I want to be. And now the way that I'm able to take a lot of what Answer has given to me into my classroom is I'm able to be not a full mentor because I'm not a mentor, I'm a teacher, but I'm able to give that mentorship love back to my students. And being in a special education classroom, that's something that a quality that you really need in order to bring that to them. They need that love and they need to know that. And I had, before I started with Answer, I couldn't even do public speaking. To be in front of a classroom was the last thing I even imagined I would be doing. And now I see that I'm in front of a classroom every day and these kids look up to me and they want to know, what are we doing? What, you're our guide. So I just want to say that I thank the donors, first of all, for everything that they've done to allow this to start, for everything that the board has done, Susan, everybody, and above all, I have to thank my mentor, Miss Janet. I love her to pieces. She's still by my side as I now go through my my master's degree, and I couldn't have asked for anything better. It is a big workload, but I'm up for the challenge now.
Great. Janet, I have to, if you're okay with this, I have to tell the story. When we had our first donor event in November of 2018, I don't think we had told Janet that she was going to get up in front of the podium and speak. And we had Laurel Helms with us. And I think we all joined you at the podium. Janet could not get up and speak hardly her name in front of anybody. And then I think after that, you went and took a speech class through school. And by the next semester, you had worked on it and you were this accomplished public speaker. And when I hear you speak, it just warms my heart because I see the confidence that you have. And when you got up that first time, you were like so mad at us for making you get up there. And,
Yeah.
and afterwards, I mean, you were the most accomplished speaker now. And I'm just so proud of you. And I know you will do well getting your master's and you'll be a fabulous teacher. And thank you for joining us tonight. I know you two are very busy. with all your course load, and we just can't thank you enough for coming out and supporting us tonight. Thank you, Janet.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And as I promised earlier, you will have the opportunity to hear from a current board member, and our board member spotlight is on Vidya Parthasarathi. And Vidya is a director of analytics at TIAA. She's originally from the south of India and holds a Bachelor of Engineering in Electronics and Communication from one of the country's top universities. She earned her MBA in finance from the University of Chicago at the Booth School of Business. And I think that's how Vidya and Susan Harper got connected, because they were both university graduates, and Susan is always looking for volunteers. And so when she found Vidya, I don't think she was going to let Vidya go without coming to volunteer. But anyway, welcome, Vidya, and thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your journey and why you like Answer.
Wow, thank you, Susan. And it's a story for another day how Susan Harper found me, I think. Thank you so much. I am very delighted to be here. And Janet and Erica, congratulations on your degrees and for being such heroes. And you're truly inspiring all of the scholars. So just to share a little bit about me, so like Susan, you mentioned, I work for TIAA. TIAA is a nonprofit retirement services and financial services company. I'm married. I have 2 children in grade school. My husband is a professor at UNC Charlotte. So when I first met Susan and she described the mission of Answer to me, I immediately felt this, deep connection to the mission, which goes back to my childhood and my upbringing. So growing up in India, I realized firsthand that getting a good education is a privilege because not everybody could afford it. Especially for women, it was very difficult to get good jobs without a good college education, and pretty much oftentimes they would find jobs at construction sites and factory work, and it's harsh conditions and extremely difficult, as you can imagine. My parents worked with some of these underprivileged women, and they supported their children's education. My parents would pay for their tuition and fees and would coach them, would help them get into college and make sure they stayed in college. There was always someone at our house. My parents would be coaching, helping, talking. I didn't understand the value of that until going beyond financial support, not just financially, until much later. So after 15 years of a career in technology, I decided to change careers, and that's when I got the MBA. It took a tremendous deal of support from my husband, my children, my parents, my in-laws, my sister, and my managers at TIAA. So they provided some tuition support, but also helped me professionally to help me reach my dreams. So I'm extremely grateful for my village. And when Answer found me, I knew this was my chance to give back. But what truly drew me to Answer is what Susan Harper, you talked about, is the rigor and commitment and professionalism in running Answer. The governance of Answer was truly impressive. The team works very hard to make the most use of every dollar, make sure the funds are directly supporting the success of our scholars. So I was very impressed with how we are structured, this leadership team, the volunteers, the directors, just very professional and rigorous. And I loved what Susan mentioned earlier is we're trying to run this as a business. And so I see no difference in the commitment and the professionalism that at Answer and what I see at work at this Fortune 100 company called TIAA. I see the same level of rigor and commitment. So I'm very excited to be here, to be working with this leadership team, and the volunteers, and with the generous support of our donors, I can't wait. I can't wait to help our scholars succeed and in achieving their dreams and to be the village for them. So I'm thankful, deeply appreciative and thankful for everyone's support, and hope you will continue to support us in the coming years. So thank you so much.
Vidya, I really appreciate your remarks. And as you can see, she is and will be quite an asset to the Answer board. And we are thrilled to have you. Vidya started January 1st as a new board member, and we're thrilled to have her for the next 3 years at least, and maybe beyond, we hope. Thanks again. And finally, last but not least, is a former board member, our tailgate committee chair and longtime donor, Luann Driscoll. I've asked her to share a few remarks. Luann is the former president of the North Mecklenburg Women's Club, and she is responsible for starting this valuable relationship that we started with that organization in 2012. I believe she saw an article about us in the paper. She took it to her committee and said, look, come here, come here. So I'm very grateful for Luann and all the many roles that she served in Answer. I think you started out being a mentor, and all the way to when we didn't have a development person, you were our very first development person in fundraising, all the way to chairing the most successful event we've ever had, which was the tailgate this past October, virtual tailgate. And I just laughed when she had this big goal of, raising over $40,000. I'm thinking if we raise 10, we're going to be doing great. How do you do this virtually? And just totally blew me away with what she's done, and just been a delight to work with these last few years. So we're glad that even though you're not on the board, you've come back and you're still volunteering with us. So Luann, tell us your story.
All right. Well, thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. And I tell you, I did come to to Answer because of the Women's Club. But after you asked me if I wanted to speak, I started to think, what really keeps me there at Answer? Why is that? And I realized that when I was younger, and I knew this, but when I was younger, I went to 5 different grade schools. So we moved frequently. I never felt like I fit in anywhere. And so I was always just trying to fit in. Middle of 6th grade, we finally moved to a community where we stayed for a few years. So junior high was the time of my life. I got into the band. I was a cheerleader, majorette, feature twirler. And for the first time of my life, I had a best friend. So thrilled. I mean, I was on top of things. And then 9th grade rolled around, and my friend's house burned down while they were out of town on vacation. And so that precipitated in her moving to a whole different school district. And that just crushed me. And then also what happened that year was my dad had to claim bankruptcy, so he lost his gas station. And that resulted in him working as a night shift mechanic in another gas station. So I was very depressed during this time. And then on top of that, my dad was killed at the gas station and during a robbery. So I was 15. And I think to myself, had I had a mentor, I think my life could have turned out differently. I'm fine. I made it. I'm good. But I'm just thinking that, things would have gone differently for me had I had a mentor. And I think that is what is the crown jewel of the Answer Scholarship Program. Just to know that these women are supported, and also, that they're trying for their children to have a better life as well. They're all my heroes. So I just can't tell you how proud I am to be part of this organization. And happy that you include me here. Thank you.
Luann, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's always wonderful to see you. And finally, last but not least, I had mentioned earlier, we have some time for question and answers, Q&A. And I'm going to turn it over to Danielle. And as I say, Danielle actually joined us last February, been with us almost a year now, and has just done a terrific job running our social media. And then once we had to figure out this virtual world. She has become our producer, so it allows us to do our jobs better. And we're so thankful for Danielle, and we love your earphones. She was going to take them off tonight. We're like, no, you're the producer. You got to keep them on. So thank you, Danielle.
Thank you so much, Susan. So we plan to do a little Q&A. We haven't gotten any questions in the chat yet, so I'll give you a few more seconds to furiously type if you've thought of a question. I know Susan Harper, she did a great job really describing what Answers plans are for the next year and kind of what we've accomplished this year. So there might not be any questions, but please type them in the chat if you think of anything. We love questions. And if that's it, we have one more surprise. We don't normally do this sort of thing. We don't normally do a raffle, but because we were so kind of, distraught that we couldn't see everybody this year, that we couldn't do a great virtual event, because it really is, the donor appreciation is such a crown jewel of our year, being able to see everybody at Austin and Byrd. But so we really just wanted to do a thank you, do a little raffle for everybody who's on the chat. For everybody who's in the call today. And I did a little random number generator just now. So let's see. We have two $50 gift cards to Firebird. So the first one goes to Jennifer DeWitt. Congratulations, Jennifer. And then we have one more $50 gift card to Firebird. Let's see. We've got Nakio Berry. Yay, congratulations, ladies. We'll send you an email and we'll try and get that in contact with you. Okay, thanks so much.
Want to check the chat again?
Yeah, let's see if we have any Q&A. Nothing's coming up. Nope.
I see a couple of questions. Well, one was, do you have to be single to be eligible? I learned this too, because a lot of people say, it's for single moms, but you can be married. Most, I would think, most are single, but you don't have to be single. I just caught that question.
Oh, sorry, you're right. I missed one. We've got also, what current scholarship ranges and will they increase over the next few years?
So I'll go ahead and speak to that. So right now we offer $2,200 for an associate's degree for the community colleges, and then we offer $4,500 a year for the universities. And we do, we evaluate that year by year. And some years, it may increase as time, as money allows. So we definitely want to keep up with to help them. And for the four-year universities, it's the $4,500 is just almost half of their tuition. And I don't know if a lot of our donors realize this, but for the non-traditional students, many of the local universities offer a sort of a discounted rate from the tuition that a traditional student would pay, about half. And I know UNC Charlotte, being a state-supported school, their tuition is already pretty low, but like Queen's University, going back as a non-traditional, is certainly far less than if you were a traditional student. So we feel like we're offering just about half of their tuition. So good question.
Great. And we have, what remaining events and activities do we have for the rest of the year?
Well, we're excited because we plan to have a virtual pancake breakfast April the 10th, 8th, 10th, whatever the Saturday is. We're in the planning stages. Last year, many of you know, we had the event planned at King's Kitchen, and at the last moment we had to shut it down. It was so sad because that's probably one of the most fun events that we do, where our scholars come in and they're servers and they're bussing the tables, and our donors actually get to interact with them. And it's really fun. It's kind of like a family event. It's 2 hours, and it's a great opportunity for us to make some really good money in a short period of time. So we've decided to do it virtually. And so this was one of Judy North's ideas. She's our new development director, and we're excited. We're going to be putting together a little video and some pictures of our scholars. In fact, we have our planning meeting next week. Don't really know exactly how it's going to turn out and what it's going to be like, but be looking for an invitation in your email. That'll be coming out soon. Also, we have always had a celebration luncheon the middle of May to celebrate the graduates and to welcome the new scholars. And as you know, still things are shut down. Foundation for the Carolinas, where we've always held this event, will not be holding in any in-person events. We just found that out. Nor, I'm not sure all of you would be wanting to come yet. So we too will be making that a virtual event on Wednesday, May the 12th, and you'll be getting an invitation for that as well. And we're really looking forward to being able to meet in person. And then finally in October, we plan on holding another tailgate event. We haven't decided just yet if it's virtual or in person, so that remains to be seen. And we're I'm thinking Luann Driscoll is going to chair that event, or at least co-chair. So yes, please. But anyway, those are the three biggies coming up. And then finally, I guess our selection of applicants, the application deadline is
March 5th. March 5th.
Okay, so that's it. I haven't missed anything.
One more thing, there's a scholar information session. If anyone knows someone that would like to apply, I mean, it is open now. There is going to be an information session coming up. We could send you some information about that. But I think it's the 7th of, yes, February 7th at 4 p.m. on Zoom. So if you're interested in that, please just send an email to Susan if you know her email, or info@answerscholarship.org, and we'll make sure that whoever you're referring gets an invitation to that, because that's something that's new, and it's a great way to tell people about Answer. So.
And another thing that's happening in March, every year the Mentors for Mom program does a scholar showcase. And normally that's not something that we can invite people to because of the nature of it being an in-person event. But since we're doing it virtually this year, we're inviting donors to join the Scholar Showcase as well. And this is where the scholars kind of talk about their aha moments for the year, kind of talk about what they learned, and from all the different speakers in the Mentors for Mom program. So that should be a good event as well to go to. We've got another question from Jessica. She asked, is there a maximum salary for scholars for them to get considered for the scholarship?
I'm sorry, Danielle, what was the maximum what?
Salary that a scholar can have in order to be considered for the scholarship?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a great question. Mm-hmm. So what we do, primarily we are a need-based scholarship program. So we do look at the FAFSA reports, we do look at income, but we also take a lot of things into consideration, like how many children or how many people are in the family. So we do look at the information that we receive, and we take a lot of things into consideration. So really there's probably, there really is probably a maximum. I mean, if you make 100,000 a year, but if you're raising, 12 children, you still might need some help. So we don't put a cap on it. We just look at every applicant individually and look at the story and try to do that. But of course we do try to give preference to those most in need as well.
Absolutely. Have we had any cases where the universities have matched our funding?
Oh, no, I wish Judy North might be able to help us with this one. That is a great question. So Judy, I know you're listening, so if you'll write that down and we can discuss that later. I know a lot of the universities have their own endowments and their own scholarship programs, but there, could be a possibility that that could happen. That would be great. We love matching funds.
And our scholars can have multiple sources of scholarships. Like we have known scholars who've gotten sometimes 2. I don't know if we've had anyone who's had 3 different ones, but Answer doesn't have to be the only one. I mean, if they're eligible for other scholarships. So that's an opportunity.
Yeah. And Susan, I don't know if this puts you on the spot a little bit, but are there any partners or donors on the call that you want to throw a shout out to?
Yes, I was looking earlier, and again, let's see, Jennifer DeWitt, Leon Levine Foundation. I mean, Jennifer is just the Levine Foundation. really gave us our good housekeeping seal of approval back in 2011, and really we wouldn't be where we are today without their guidance. So I remember being this was our first major gift we ever received, and when Tom Lawrence called me to tell me we received the gift, I about fell off my chair. And then I got up the courage one day to go talk with him and say, okay, I'd love some advice on what we need to do. And he said, you need to start an advisory board. And because we were a fund under Foundation for the Carolinas at the time, and we didn't have any sort of governance except for the foundations, and that was their legal board. And so I remember going home that day thinking, okay, Tom's told me to start an advisory board, so I will. So I went home and Googled, how do you, what do you do at an advisory board meeting? And how do you do it? And how do you put together, an advisory board? And then I picked 4 folks, and Jim Brinson, who just rolled off and retired recently, he was one of my first 4. But it was kind of funny in the day. They were a great group of 4 lovely people, and they truly were advisors. They told me what to do. We didn't have committees at the time, so that was the very beginning. And then another thing Tom told me, or the Levine Foundation told us a few years ago, is we needed a succession plan. So we thought, okay. And I see former board member Bill Gerone's on with us tonight. So he and Susan Harper worked diligently to put together this wonderful succession plan. And we had it prepared. And then the Foundation for the Carolinas said, oh, that's a great plan, but it just wasn't going to work for them. So we said, okay, well, we're going to start our own 501c3. Again, had the Levine Foundation not encouraged us to keep growing and doing, we would have still probably been a fund under the foundation, which we still have our endowment there. But now we partner more with the foundation, and we have a great relationship with them. So the Levines made us grow, made us stretch, made us uncomfortable. And even some of the surveys and things that we came up with this past year, Jennifer sort of had recommended some of this to us when she spoke with Martha and me last year. So lots of good things happening, and see a couple of new donors on here. I know Diane Gilroy's on here. I know, just doing a shout out to Diane. She found out about us recently through Facebook, which was interesting. And like I said, Bill Jerome has been with us for a long time, and just was a great board member and been a great ambassador for Answer. And to see so many wonderful folks with us today. A lot of board members are joining us today, and former scholars, graduates. So we're really glad to have you all with us tonight. So anyway, we just really appreciate all of our donors, and we really wish you were in person to really give you a really good shout out. We appreciate you.
Yeah, and then we have one more question. Someone asked if this recording could be posted on the website.
Oh, well,
I don't see why not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You are our social media guru.
Yeah,
so.
I don't see why not.
Okay. All right.
If there are no other questions, I would just like to say a final thank you to everyone for not only being here tonight, but being a donor and a supporter of Answer. We really couldn't do this without you. And as I mentioned before, I just think it's a wonderful organization. I've loved working with it. And I'll just end with saying that, people talk about the education and the career change and the growth that the scholars experience. But for me personally, what I have found so meaningful, I think, to me, is the self-confidence. I think Janet, I know she left, but I mean, she's a great example of when the scholars start with us, they are often very shy and sort of, what's this all about, and all these workshops. But I think just to see them really blossom has been the most gratifying thing to me. And especially now that we have an alumni committee and we're getting those alums to come back and mentor in some cases, I think that's a true test of what Answer has meant to the scholars. So I appreciate, again, you being here tonight, and hopefully next year we will see you in person, or maybe even later this year. And I certainly hope to meet all of you personally at some point during the year.
Thank you very much. Thank you again for joining us tonight.